Yeah, welcome to Embracing Differences. My name is Nippin, and we are here today to discuss ergonomics with Dr. Robert Long. Rob and I have come up with scheduling a conference in Edinburgh on this topic called Holistic Ergonomics. And I thought it would be so the conference is scheduled from the 4th to the 6th of February next year. And I thought it would be wonderful to have a conversation about what ergonomics is all about and how we see it differently from how it is understood in the mainstream. So maybe Rob, we start with your view on ergonomics and see how it goes from there. Yes.
Well, I had to study a unit in a master's degree on ergonomics, and I was surprised by exactly what it's concerned with. It's all about objects, it's all about systems, and it's all about how people can fit within systems and how humans can serve systems. And I don't think like that at all. I think the opposite. I don't live to serve systems. I create systems to serve me. And so the same goes with human factors. I don't see myself as a factor in a system. And so I don't have any interest in human factors study either. So when I developed the unit of holistic ergonomics, I put into the whole study of ergonomics everything that's missing from traditional studies in ergonomics. And one of the most classic, I think it's the most popular book in the study of ergonomics, is called How the Task Fits the Human, or something like that. It's a very, very popular book. But for me, the moment I got involved in the study of ergonomics, I was just amazed by everything that's missing. There's just so much missing about understanding the human person. In fact, I would not recommend the study of ergonomics to anyone. It seems like it's a very engineering focused type study, and none of it helps you understand why people make decisions, how they make decisions, and how the human unconscious affects decision making. There's none of that in anything to do with ergonomics, even though it's a study of work. You know, the word ergon is the word work, so it's a study of work. But how can you have a study of work and not study the nature of human persons? That amazes me.
So how would you look at work then, for example? Maybe that's a great start. How would
Well,
you view work?
Well, isn't that interesting? I can look at work as the production of an outcome. You know, it's a very Marxist idea of the human is a cog in a machine, and in fact, that's a popular semiotic in the risk and safety world for understanding how humans work. I am not a cog in a machine, and that metaphor and that symbol is actually anti-human in how it presents the nature of work. And so the idea of work as a process you undertake to get an outcome is not my understanding of work. In fact, you know, the idea that work has to be arduous, that work has to be about labor and toil, that work has to be about a struggle, and it has to be about oppression by the controllers of economics. That's a Marxist understanding of the nature of work, and I'm not interested in that either. You know, it is possible to actually have enjoyment in work. It's possible to have happiness and pleasure in work, not because you're focused on the outcome, but because you're focused on the people in the process. And so my focus is very much on how people work together, not how people develop an outcome. So I'm not interested in the Marxist view, and I'm not interested in the behaviourist view, because both those views see a human being as a cog, as a machine, as an object. And any study of ergonomics that I've seen is focused, has that kind of focus. So that's of no interest to me. I'd much rather know who is the person beside me in the lunchroom or in the morning tea break. I'd much prefer to work out whether that person can be trusted or whether we work well as a team, rather than think about the size of the chair or whether the forklift has a seat belt or whether the wheels are pumped up properly or anything like that. And my understanding and study of ergonomics has been the priority of objects over subjects. And I flip that around. In holistic ergonomics, we focus on subjects, not objects.
Great. So the question then is that if productivity and output is not your concern, and it's all about people and relationship at work, how do
Mm.
you then meet the demands of or the managerial demands, for example, to get work done at the end of the day, to meet certain targets, to be able to survive as an organization? Because you could have a lot of people in the room chatting away during tea breaks and coffee breaks and lunchtime and not caring about what is expected out of them.
Okay, so the language you just used to me is binary language, right? And so
Yes,
you were talking, so you just gave me two options. You've got the freeloading worker who's not achieving productivity, and then you've got the owner operator who's only concerned about productivity. I'm
that's
I'm
right.
not I'm not interested in those two options. That binary is not the way I think. There's a dialectic between those two which we need to think a lot more about. Not not the outcome and not the person as the machine in the process of the outcome. So when we focus on relational knowing within the process of work, we then focus on the culture of work, not the outcome of work. And the problem is, if you want to make a workplace toxic, focus on productivity, measurement, performance, performance, performance. The language of performance and analyzing performance is a fixation on how to make a toxic culture. And I see some of these popular, you know, trends in safety, for example, on human organizational performance, and the focus is still on performance. I'm not interested in performance. I'm interested in people. And when you're interested in people, you've got a much better chance of creating a healthy culture. And when you create a healthy culture, you don't have to worry about performance, because happy people, satisfied people, people with meaning and purpose in their work achieve outstanding performance. Anyone who stands over someone measuring their performance actually gets lower outcomes, lower satisfaction, lower sense of meaning and purpose in work. And so I think we've tipped it all the wrong way. We've tipped it the wrong way. We don't need to focus on objects over subjects. We need to focus on the subjects and how we manage the objects. And so we need to be holistic and start consider all of the things which are missing from traditional ergonomics. And I'll just give you a simple one. You can buy any book on ergonomics on the planet. Do you think the word ethics is in there?
No, I
Do
don't
you
think
think?
so.
No, it's not. Do you think the
No.
idea of moral meaning in work is discussed in ergonomics? No, it's not. And yet, what do we want in our work? When we go to work, we want moral meaning and purpose. And that's one of the core motivations of why people are satisfied in their workplace. When you take moral meaning away and you focus on productivity and product and measuring outcome, you actually create a toxic workplace, and all toxic workplaces drop in productivity. So I work on the opposite way. If you want to get great productivity, stop thinking about productivity. Start thinking about people and the culture you want to create, and your productivity will follow.
Very good. So, Rob, here's a question then. Why is it that so many people don't see the obvious? What is the problem with that? Let's talk about
Well,
that.
Well, ergonomics has been generated out of the discipline of engineering and behaviorism. That's the roots of where ergonomics developed. And so you jump in any ergonomics book and we measure the size of, how the human is, and then we measure the size of the table. So you buy an ergonomic table, you buy an ergonomic chair, you buy an ergonomic, and all this focus on objects and how the human fits in with these objects. And then we test that ergonomic chair. It has to be renewed and has to have a standard on it. I've been in places, Nippin, with no ergonomic concern at all. People could sit on a cardboard box and have no injury, but that's because they're happy, they're in a good, healthy culture, they love their teammates, they feel appreciated, they have a sense of meaning and purpose in their lives, because injury increases when you take away meaning and purpose. And I've worked in work teams, 30, 50, 100 people in a team, where all the conditions we were working in were appalling. We didn't have money to generate ergonomic, facilities. We didn't have any of that stuff. At one place, we worked in a dilapidated old dairy that was ruined, and we had to make do with what we had. We didn't have a proper kitchen. We didn't have, proper chairs, a whole bunch of things. It was the most successful program I've ever worked on. And surprise, surprise, you know what? They just celebrated 25 years of the most successful program in my region. And it isn't because of ergonomics. It's because of meaning, purpose, motivation, the psychology of goals, and personhood. They're not mentioned in ergonomics. And unless you get the psychology of motivation right, you'll have a toxic workplace. If you've got a toxic workplace, you'll have higher injury rate, lower productivity, and those things flow on. And then you bring in a manager who wants higher productivity, and then he brings in surveillance on people to get better productivity. It's all the wrong way around. You've got to flip that out, and you've got to approach ergonomics in a holistic way, not in this narrow way which dominates industry at the moment.
Oh, what worries me, Rob, as I listen to you, is that we're seeing even more and more of what you're saying.
Yes.
We have a classic problem in Britain, for example, that there is a lot of people reporting absent or sick at work, and they're
Oh,
not
yes.
always sick. They're not always
No,
sick.
of
They
course
make
not.
excuses because
And
they
on
don't
Mondays
like.
and Fridays, and on Mondays and Fridays, that's when sickness goes up. Yes. And
Yeah.
that's a measurement of a toxic workplace.
Indeed. And it goes back to exactly what you're saying. I'd rather spend time with my family, or I spend time in this place where I live because
Yeah.
I'm so much more with my own self. I mean, COVID has shown us that a lot of people feel a lot more productive while at home with their family, with the people who they trust,
Yeah.
rather than spending time in their offices because they
Yeah.
don't get along with their bosses. Or, you
Well,
know,
yeah.
you remember.
Nippin, well, there's a fundamental problem there. Our industries and our organizations are still dominated by behaviorism, and they still think that people go to work for money and reward. It's like we're all mice in a little cage, in a behaviorist cage, and that's why we go to work. That is completely false. All the research proves the opposite. All of the research out there demonstrates that the three key motivators for why people go to work are not considered by traditional ergonomics, because ergonomics is still connected to behaviorism. And so we're wondering why people want to take Monday and Friday off. And then what does the workplace do? Oh, we now bring in policemen or police women, and we police workers, and we now check up on them on a Monday and a Friday and find out whether they're really sick, or we install cameras in the workplace and so on. And all of it just increases the toxicity. It just makes it worse.
It does. So Rob, let's go to Edinburgh now and say, what is it that we want people to take away or go away with
Okay.
if they come to attend this workshop with
Okay.
us?
Well, we're going to leave with practical, positive ideas and methods, practical methods for how to create a healthy, positive, meaningful workplace. And part of that has to do with unlearning a lot of the ergonomics you've been told and relearning a holistic approach to ergonomics, which is currently a story not being told. And I will use, when I am speaking at the conference, I will use 2 case studies that we have done here in Australia, which I created and participated in. I may even do a third. And they're case studies. They're not made up. I worked with an international insurance company with people who have been long-term unemployed and injured at work. And I'm going to do this case study in the workshop. I created a workplace for them where 50% of them were able to return back to work, even though they had been out of work for more than 5 years. So this is
Wonderful.
a practical experiment and a case study in that if you change the culture of a workplace, you can move the toxicity into positivity. You can move the focus on objects into meaning and purpose. And when people get meaning and purpose, they want to go to work. They don't take Mondays and Fridays off. They love being where they are, and they experience it more than just silly talk about psychosocial safety and more than silly talk about, what's currently floating around in the safety world. Half of that is still focused on objects. I mean,
Yeah.
you listen to all the language. It's about psychosocial hazards, not psychosocial risks. So even the language at the moment at risk and safety is still focused on objects. So in
Great.
our
Yeah.
workshop, we're going to focus on subjects, on people.
Yes, wonderful. Just a last question, Rob, and I think yeah, this is wonderful. We also have are taking people on semiotic walks.
Ah,
We have planned 3 semiotic walks. One to a distillery, and you are drinking scotch right now, which makes me
yeah,
very
yeah.
jealous.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. This is all the way from Scotland.
Yeah, I'll have mine in the evening from Ireland. I got one
Yeah.
from Ireland. So,
Okay.
so, so, and we are doing one to the Roslyn Chapel, and then the
Yes.
final one we are going to the IKEA store. So,
Yep.
how is these semiotic walks connected with the theme of the workshop, holistic ergonomics?
Nippin, the best way to learn is through experience and observation. If you sit in a classroom and someone lectures you about something and all you're doing is putting down your dot points and writing your notes, it all stays stuck in your head and it's just a collection of ideas. You actually have to go out into the world and you actually you need help to do so, because this is not valued by people. Observational and experiential learning, it's not valued. Lots of our organizations think the best way to learn is to throw 20 people into a classroom. No, when you walk and you understand in your walk what you're looking at and how you're looking at it, and you need to be guided. I've been doing this for 20 years. When you have an understanding of and a literacy of space and place, then you learn a lot through the semiotics of what you're looking at. But the people who go on the walks with us will need to be taught how to put on a new pair of glasses. They have to see the world through semiotic eyes, not through behaviourist eyes or through traditional ergonomics eyes. And when you put on your new pair of glasses and you see the world's semiotics, you see different things that you never saw before. You see things that are happening with people and how objects shape the culture of how people find meaning in what they do. So the 3 semiotic walks will be very practical, and they'll teach people how to see the world differently.
Rob, tell that story once again of when you were at this place where was it Finland? I don't remember exactly, but where you saw one woman out of all men working in this place, and you went straight to her.
That was with Brian, and we were in a construction site, and there were at least 200 men on site, and she was the only woman. And I went on an observation with Brian Darlington, and she was the first person I walked to. And I asked her a few open questions, and in less than 3 questions, out it all came. I'm abused. I'm treated like a sex object. I'm not understood as a person. I do my job. I collect my money. I'm paid very well, and I go home, but I'm looking for my next job.
And
And that
this is
came from just 2 questions, and we got there.
yes, and this whole idea of shifting our focus from objects to subjects is what
Yes,
this story is about, and so many more
absolutely.
like that. Yes, yes,
Absolutely.
great.
I
Yes.
could tell hundreds of those
Oh, me
stories.
too. Me too. I will tell you. But I will stop this. Rob, is there anything else you would like to say before
No,
we
no,
go?
no. I love your little cartoon of the pole and the pole. Yep. That's so classic about how traditional ergonomics thinks. They look at the pole, not the pole. And this workshop flips it all over. So if you want to go to a radical workshop where you will learn a new way of looking at ergonomics, then come to this one.
Great, great. I'm already very happy. Rob, I will stop recording. Yes, yes, yes.
Good.